as we've now heard, that it's already producing leaks. And they want that. I mean, they won't come forth and say that. BP doesn't want it because BP. Well, let me build a little bit of a foundation because, unfortunately, as sick as this is going to sound, it's the absolute truth.
All right, let's do it. Go ahead.
Politics are playing more in this than I would have ever imagined. BP does not want to uncap this well because they are being charged by the amount of oil that is spilled. So if they can keep this rig capped, it saves them billions of dollars.
All right.
Having said that, if at the same time they know that if they cap this thing for real, and now Coast Guard Admiral Thad Allen is onto it, meaning the whole administration's onto the game, that they know that the reservoir, 6 Mile Reservoir, will breach. And it already is doing that. There's fissures, there's cracks in the seabed. Now it's being reported that 2 miles away from the rig, away from where the drilling is, 2 miles away, there's already seepage.
Yeah, Mitch, something must have happened down there for these fissures to be, just splitting open all of a sudden. I mean, is it just the pressure from the oil that was doing that? I just can't understand that.
It is, George. It's absolutely that, and it's the unique mixture of the oil and the methane. I don't know of any other rig that has come upon this situation. It's extremely unique and extremely toxic. BP, I think, went into this blindly, and as much as I dislike Halliburton and all they represent, they're actually the good guys in this. They warned BP to slow down, and BP overrode that and said, no, time is money, push. And just in case your audience doesn't know what happened to those 11 people who were killed, it was, in fact, if it wasn't announced before, now they are, it was, in fact, a methane bubble that burst that caused the explosion.
Yes.
And so there is the danger of that. BP wants to cap it, but at the same time, they want the rupture to be the fault of the United States. Here's where the game starts. And the administration is on to it. Now, I have always wondered myself why Obama has been kind of mild, meek, however you want, and Thad Allen as well. What I didn't realize was how much leverage BP has, an enormous amount. They're saying, okay, you want me to cap this? Fine, but we are not responsible. If we cap it as you're demanding, we're not responsible for what could happen. And here, I'll just give you just a small quote. This is just coming out today. One of the BP spokesmen, Subtle, he carved out the importance of turf for BP and says if Allen sticks with the containment plan and oil again pours forth, it will be the government's doing, not BP's. So there it is. There's the game right there.
Now, explain something to us, Mitch, about the pressure. As you well know, I'm an abiotic oil theorist. I believe that this planet, when it was formed, had these hydrocarbons already within. That's another show with you and some other people, but I'm a believer in that. Assuming that dinosaurs and plankton and dead plants caused all this oil to get down there as deep as it did, I don't know how, what's causing the pressure of that oil to come shooting out? Why can't it just stop on its own?
Well, gravity is part of what it is. It's like if you had, I don't know if it's a good analogy, but a balloon, and you puncture the balloon. Well, you would think that a balloon that's taut, where pressure's involved, and the bore is larger than a pinprick. So we know that if you do a pinprick to a water balloon, and the balloon is not so stretched out that it would absorb itself and possibly just have a bit of dripping.
A slow leak.
A very slow leak, and maybe even stop at some point. But if the balloon has pressure in it, in other words, if the rubber was pulled taut, and you put you bore a hole into it, and you pull the hole, and then you pull the bore out, which is effectively what happened. Everything is going to rush towards that hole. So hence is the pressure. Now remember, we're talking about a mile down below the ocean, so we already have the weight of the ocean force of the water forced down on the ground, or what we call the seabed. So if there is a cavity in the seabed, which is what it is, if there's an air bubble in the seabed and you puncture it, then all the pressure is going to want to escape, and the only place it will escape initially would be the borehole. However, if you cap that borehole, it's going to find the weakest spot possible on the ground, and that's where the fissures are being created.
Okay, in theory then, if you uncapped it, would oil and methane gas stop leaking through the fissures?
Yeah.
And the cracks? Okay.
Yes.
They just keep coming out the borehole.
It would either, it would be, yes, theoretically, absolutely. It would be lessened, extension, more than just a bit. But I wouldn't guarantee that it would stop totally, but absolutely, it would stop the pressure from the oil and mixture of methane, looking for the weakest places of this 6 mile, I believe it's a 6 mile reservoir.
Easy.
And so it's naturally, water finds its level. Well, in this case, pressure finds its level. Wherever the weakest points are in the 6 mile reservoir is where the breach will occur, and that's exactly what's happening.
Now, one of Richard Hoagland's concerns that this methane could create a massive bubble which could explode. It could, destroy part of the atmosphere and come raining down on people, or people would simply breathe this mixture. I want to check in with you, Mitch, when we come back in just a moment and get your take on this, how dangerous you believe this methane gas could be, and what we'll do in the remaining half hour with Mitch Batris. We'll take your phone calls right here on Coast to Coast AM. So with a flip of the switch, the phone lines are open. I'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.